Set your project directory. Click on the project directory button. Open up the folder called IK Fan. Click on Open to set it. I'm going to go to File, Load. From the Scenes folder, scene called IK Fan Setup. I have half of a torso here, and all I've put in are the back, neck, and head bones. Let's click into Setup. Middle mouse click on Back 2. Use the plus key on the keypad to add a bone. Rotate this out sideways. We'll zoom in here and place the edge of this bone right on the edge of the shoulder here, this deltoid area. Go to a top, make sure we're right in the middle of the mesh. Go back to a front view. Let's rename this bone clavicle R. Add another bone to that with the plus key. We'll adjust the length of this bone so the tip of this bone is right in the middle of our shoulder. Go to a left view. Let's bank it so Y faces straight out to the left. We'll name this bone clavicle 2R. Go back to a front view. Let's add another bone. We'll pitch this down on heading and adjust the length of it so it's right on top of the elbow area. Go to a top view. We'll pitch it back so the tip of this bone is on the bony part of the elbow. Let's go back to a front view here. We'll adjust the length of this bone so it is the same length as the clavicle 2R bone, which should be right at the edge of the other side of the shoulder. We'll name this one bicep R. Use a plus key again to add another bone to that. We'll adjust the length of this bone so that it's right on top of the elbow. Go to a top view, make sure we're in the right spot. Name this one bicep 2R. Use the plus key to add another bone. Pitch this one forward. Go to a front view, rotate it up on heading, and position the length of this bone right on top of the wrist. Name this one forearm R. Plus key to add another bone, we'll call this one hand R. Let's add an IK goal for this. Add a null called IK hand R. Use the plus key to add that to the list. We'll drag this to the bottom outside of the hierarchy. We'll zoom out. Position this right on top of hand R, right at the base of our hand bone. Go to a top view, position it. Let's go to the front view here. We'll add a muscle bone for the back that goes from here to back 2. Use the plus key, rotate it down on heading, and adjust the length of it so that it sits right on top of back 2. Switch to a left view. We're lined up. Name this bone back muscle R. Under the bone block, check muscle bone. On the target, under the pull down menu, highlight back 2. So we know that this is now a fan. Let's go into the Commands tab. We'll add an IK constraint. Let's create a new variable. Call this one IK align hand R. And under the pull down menu here, select an expression called IK2D. Double click to add that. The first pull down menu under these arguments is the base, which in this case is bicep R. The second one is the end, which is hand R. Third one is our null, which is IK hand R. One for alignment, one to turn it on. Right mouse click to add that to the expressions field. So when we highlight IK hand R and move it around, we have our hand moving. You can see we have a bit of craziness on the bicep. Let's go into animate, and under the inverse kinematics block, adjust the pitch stiffness to 1. Now our problem is when we move this down, you can see that it pinches unexpectedly right at the base here. We don't want that. But the only problem is we can't just highlight this bone and adjust pitch because it's the root and it has to move everywhere to calculate our goal. So we need to add a fan bone. Since we've added a muscle bone here on our shoulder, let's use that as a fan bone. Let's go into Setup. We're going to add a fan bone that spans between these two tiny bones. So highlight clavicle 2R, use the plus key to add a bone, uncheck Align Z to Parent. We'll zero out the Z translate so it's right at the base of the bone. Use the A key to center in and we'll zoom in. Go down on heading and drag the length of this bone so that it's right along the base of bicep 2. Switch to a top view, pitch it back so that it's right at the base of bicep 2. We'll check muscle bone. We'll select bicep 2 as the target. You'll see that it turned blue, so we know that it's a fan bone. And we're going to make both of these bones lose their influence on the mesh. We'll adjust their slip to 1. So that the only thing influencing this section of the mesh is our muscle bone. Now when we go back into Animate, you'll see that our shoulder is now bulging out. So if we highlight our IK hand null and move it, you'll see that now our shoulder deforms properly. If you go to a top view here and rotate it forward, it doesn't pinch off, because we're using a muscle bone as a fan bone. Go to File. I'm going to save this scene as ikfana.fxs.